But that was definitely something that had me ready to fight everybody, because I was just like, what are you looking at? Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kendra and I am deine Lieblingsausländerin, coming back to you with another video. I have been traveling back and forth to Germany for 4 years now, and I'm mostly used to the way things work around here. But when I first came here, there were a lot of things about Germany that caught me off guard. I was just like, where am I? What is this? What is that? Why is that like that? And it's so funny looking at this list now because there are things that just seem so normal to me. But when I first came here, I just did not understand these German culture shocks. So I want to start with the first one. What I like to call the German stare. When I first experienced the German stare, as a New Yorker, honestly, I did not take it well. When you stare at somebody for a prolonged period of time in New York, it's a sign of aggression. It means you want to fight. It means we have a problem. It's not good. It's never good. But here, after doing some digging and some research, I found out that it's pretty normal to stare at everybody and anybody. I told you guys in the solo travel video that you might get stared at. So my first assumption was, oh my gosh, people are staring at me because I'm black. But after doing some research and just observing people, I realized that people here stare at everybody. And it is a little bit annoying, but a lot of the times it's subconscious and people don't realize they're staring because it's just so normalized here. But that was definitely something that had me ready to fight everybody in Germany that stared at me, because I was just like, what are you looking at? The next thing that shocked me was, in addition to the German stare, there's also the lack of smile. As some of you may know, Americans have a reputation for smiling all the time. We like to smile when we talk. We like to smile at strangers. And in Germany, you just really don't see that. When I first came here and I went to the supermarket, I was expecting that the cashier or the greeter would smile at me when they said hi, and they kind of just say hi and start scanning your stuff. As opposed to the US, where a lot of the times you'll get greeted like, hi, how are you? How was your day? Okay, great. But another part of that culture shock is that Germans are really, really helpful. So, you know, you might think that because someone's not smiling at you, they're distant or they're cold. But I find a lot of the times that if I ask someone for help, they're very eager and willing to help me. And sometimes people will even notice that I need help and they'll come up to me and offer their help right away. So you can't really judge a person by how much they do or don't smile. The next thing that shocked me about Germany is this right here. This bottle here is worth 25 cents. Now, if you're a German watching this, you're probably confused as to why this would be a culture shock for me. In the US, people don't really collect water bottles because they're so low in value. Most of the time, we'll just recycle them or throw them in the garbage. Some people will throw them on the ground. And I think that making them cost more is a much better incentive to not litter or to not create waste. And when you take them back to the supermarket, the plastic gets reused and you get your 25 cents back. The next shock is that Germans are pretty liberal. And I come from a really liberal city, so it's not a shock to me when people are liberal, but it's a shock to me that it was on such a wide scale. And I feel like there's always a protest going on here, whether it's Black Lives Matter or LGBTQ rights, anti-gun policy. There's always somebody advocating or protesting for something. The liberal in me, the progressive in me really loves that. I wasn't expecting it to be that intense coming here, but it's definitely something that I really appreciate. And liberalism stretches across generations. Like, I've talked to 17-year-olds and 67-year-olds who share the same opinions, and I think that's really cool. Of course, you have a growing conservative population here, but I think it's really nice how widespread liberalism is across different age groups. The next thing that shocked me is rules. Rules, rules, rules. There's a lot of policing, and not just by the police. Let me explain what I mean. People here like to stick to their rules. For example, one that really shocked me when I first got here was the crosswalk. If you're waiting at the crosswalk and the light is red, but there are no cars coming, a lot of the time people will wait for the light to change to green before crossing the street. Even if there's no cars, there's not a single car on the road. That was something that was really hard for me to adjust to, because in the US, if there's no cars, you just go. Sometimes if there is a car, you just go and hope you make it to the other side. But people here really stick to that rule. And people here are not shy about calling you out if you do break the rules. So it's not just authority figures that are setting the rules. There are also regular civilians that will tell you,
you can't do that.
Like, for example, I was on the U-Bahn once and there was a guy eating and this old man came all the way from the other end of the car to tell him he could not eat on the train because there was a sign behind him that said no eating. And yeah, that's pretty common here. I see it all the time where someone will litter or do something that's against the rules, and another person will tell them pretty directly, that's not allowed, you can't do that, stop doing that. On one hand, I like it because, for example, I hate littering, but on the other hand, it's like, all right, we get it, rules. The next thing that shocked me, which I really love, is that there's a lot of nature here, even in big cities. I love that Germany has these really big, beautiful, lush parks that you don't necessarily have to go outside of your city to get to. In Berlin, for example, there are a few parks in the city that I could bike to easily and have that feeling of being in nature without having to drive or having to go a long distance. And I always assumed that I would have to go to the countryside or down south to the mountains to really get that nature experience. But I find that it's pretty accessible even within your own city or in a neighboring city to be in nature. And I'm a city girl. I love my skyscrapers and my subway and all that, but I also really love to be in nature. So that's something that was a pleasant surprise for me. I think this is my least favorite shock. Germany is so cold in the wintertime. I thought coming here that, you know, I could handle the cold, I can handle anything. I'm from the Northeast. I'm used to the cold, I'm used to a lot of snow, I'm used to long winters. But I don't know, there's something about the cold here. It's just a different kind of cold. It'll be the same below freezing as it is back home, but it just feels so much colder. And I Googled why this is, and it has something to do with the mountains trapping the air, especially in Bavaria because we have a lot of mountains down here. But all I know is there were just some days where it's not just that I don't want to leave my house, it's that I can't leave my house because it is just that cold. And I don't think that's something I'll ever get used to. Also, since we're talking about weather, it's very gray here in the winter. In New York, we have long, cold winters, but we also get a lot of sun throughout the winter. That's just not the case here. Like, let me show y'all what it's looking like. This is what it looks like most days. Gray, 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 gray. And that is just painful when you're somebody who thrives in the sunlight. That's why I'm looking forward to summer so much. I just want to roast. The last culture shock, which is my absolute favorite culture shock, was that Germany is really diverse. Of course, before I came here, I knew that Germany was made up of more than just ethnic German. But it's different when you see it with your own eyes. When I go to bigger cities in Germany or even medium-sized cities in Germany, it's so nice and it makes me feel so at home to see all kinds of different people of different cultures and backgrounds and be able to eat all kinds of different food and go to different cultural events because there are just that many different kinds of people here. Now, I always feel most at home in places that are really diverse. So that was a very pleasant surprise for me to find out that I could integrate myself in different kinds of cultures, learn about different kinds of cultures, share some things about my own culture right here. I think it's beautiful. So those are some of the things that really shocked me when I first came to Germany. I still have a lot of things that continue to shock me to this day, but that is another video for another time. For now, I hope you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen.